All right, so we're going to keep going through these questions. This next question is, are there benefits to ADHD? I know life, you see a lot of this in dealing with the youth, and whether we want to categorize it into a subset of dysfunctional, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. But how would you answer that question?
It's a difficult one because a lot of time the ADHD or ADD, they have a lot of very negative connotations to it, and sometimes people, your mind is running so fast in so many different directions, and then you self-diagnose and say, I think I got ADHD. And oftentimes it's just saying, okay, how do I slow down and begin to focus in one area? When I run to a lot of youth who are very active, I take them outside. Let's go outside. Let's run. Let's engage. Instead of sitting down in an office with them or sitting down in a house, let's go walk around the neighborhood. We do whatever sessions we do in other spaces that just allow them to air, space, ecotherapy, get in nature. So as far as if there is a benefit, it just means you have a lot of energy and, exercise, box, whatever physical activities you can do, find ways to engage it. But the idea becomes to try to create some type of boundaries around some aspect of structure in where you can actually see an end to what it is that you do. So depending on what you want to use it for, if you're saying I got ADHD and I want to sit down and meditate for 24 hours a day, good luck. You know what I mean? I don't, but if you want to just go outside and find ways to engage, and it's first of all, our grandparents have ADHD, you just take them outside, let them run, let them engage, let a person just get back in tune with what's going on outside of them. So there's no one particular answer to that, but I just try to incorporate like more outdoor activities when I engage with those kind of youth.
And I help them to find what their and I help them to find what their calling is, like what their passion is, again, what their joy is, because each of us has a unique calling in life. Someone may want to read, someone may want to paint, someone may want to go for a run, and things like that. So actually sitting with them, being present with them, and going through, finding out what is their calling in life. And that can change as well, because something like ADHDs, they're actually going through multi-dimensional levels of self. They're actually exhibiting the multidimensionality of self. So it's, yeah.
And this speaks to, I think, the problems, if you will, that arise whenever we have a diagnosis, right? Like Life was speaking about, and Neva, that, ADHD, what does that really mean? And we've come up with these diagnoses to mean out of the normal, right? Or there's some type of behavior that we're recognizing that we don't quite understand yet. So we're going to label it like autism and some of these other things. And now we say, well, you're on the spectrum of things, right? So I think we can do ourselves a misservice by living underneath a diagnosis, right? You are not your diagnosis. You are not your file of doctors, laboratory tests, right? So I think with anything, these are your body dynamics, right? And I am just dying to talk about eniology 7 because I think that the relationship questions, the procrastination questions, right? All of these about finding your motivations and what's really serving you. These tools like the eniology can really, really help us in finding the things that really fuel ourselves, right?
That's an interesting insight there also, Joy. And, I do pardon me for not bolting on eniology into this conversation. Maybe when we come back next week on Keymakers, we realize also it'd be great if we had 9 of us, since there's kind of like 2 slots down here that are open. And maybe we can also work to see solutions based on the lens of the personality. And then that way, those that are listening can actually see the perspective in which we're coming from. And if you don't agree with the perspective, you can also see why the one who's bringing that perspective would see things that way. That's always very important in communication.